What's going on, guys? Mickle here. In this video, we are doing a deep dive into the Ripple SEC case, and specifically both the SEC and Ripple strategies going forward. We're going to be taking a look at some massive decisions that are going to be made by the court in this case in the next coming weeks, and take a look at how it increases or decreases the likelihood of a settlement, or how it increases or decreases the chance of this case going all the way to trial. I'm going to be breaking down a bunch of different scenarios for you guys, and I believe after watching this video, you guys are going to have a much better idea of all the potential outcomes that can take place. We're also going to be taking a look at some different timelines of when we can expect these things to take place, and for this case to wrap up once and for all. You guys are definitely going to want to see this because it's going to take your knowledge of this case to the next level. If you guys are new to this channel or come here all the time, make sure to like and subscribe. It goes such a long way in helping support this channel for free and means so much to me. Also, if you do not have an Uphold account already, make sure to sign up in the link in the description below. With that said though, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. Guys, like always, make sure you stick around for this whole thing. This video is really going to level up your knowledge of everything we have coming down the pipeline in this Ripple SEC case. We're going to be talking about settlement, going the distance, and everything you guys really need to know. Also, I have a great analogy for what's happening with the SEC at the end of this video. You guys are going to want to see that. So I want to start right here, though, with this tweet from Fred, and I thought this was super interesting. He tweeted out, "I go back and forth often on settlement prospects. With the absurd delay tactics by the SEC Gov over the last 3 weeks, my base case now is that settlement only happens if 1. Congressional action moots the lawsuit, 2. SEC is forced to hand over emails, or 3. Summary judgment." So let's break these down. First of all, number 1, I think is probably highly unlikely. I really don't count on Congress doing anything. So I'm kind of just playing this one off right now. I don't think this will happen, and specifically, I don't think it's going to say anything specifically about XRP, even if something does happen. Now, number 2, I believe is very, very likely. The SEC, I do believe, will be forced to hand over the Hinman emails, and I don't think the SEC is going to do it. I think the SEC is going to settle this case way before they have to hand over a single one of those emails, because those emails are going to show how corrupt the agency has been and how insane this case against Ripple really was. Now, I also think number 3 was super interesting, and he believes the SEC will not risk going to summary judgment. He believes the SEC would actually settle this case before going to summary judgment. I also thought this was pretty interesting because this shows that Fred believes that the SEC actually knows that their case is so weak, they would not risk letting the judge make critical decisions on this case. The judges have seen all the documents that the SEC has been trying to hide from Ripple, and I think Fred knows, and I think Fred knows the SEC knows, that their case is likely already cooked, and right now the SEC's best strategy going forward is just to delay, and try to get the best settlement possible out of Ripple. Now, I wanted to go over this tweet thread by John Deaton because I want to show you guys how critical these 63 emails, these 53 emails surrounding the Ethereum free pass speech really are in driving a settlement in this case. This is one of the most important things to understand right now because both parties need an incentive to settle this case. Ripple wants to know it can't get more simply by winning, and the SEC wants to make sure that they drag this thing out as long as possible so they can get the most out of Ripple. Now, at the end of the day, Ripple has been destroying the SEC in this case thus far, and right now, this could be the final knife in the coffin for the SEC, and that is the emails, because it's going to get to a certain point in this case where the SEC cannot afford to drag this out any longer, and I believe these emails are going to be that key factor. Right here, John Deaton says, "As I have said from the moment we learned there were 63 emails with 53 drafts, the likelihood XRP was mentioned or referenced at least once is very strong. XRP battled ETH for the number 2 spot behind Bitcoin for years. What are the chances one person in those emailed replied, what about XRP? If we're going to see ETH clarity, we need to give XRP clarity. I don't see a difference between ETH and XRP. You know, if we give ETH clarity, they will ask about XRP. How do we respond? Or Bill Hinman simply saying XRP is way less of a security than ETH. So all these things are very possible that could have been in these chain of emails, and this would be so damning for the SEC, because if the SEC didn't directly respond in this chain of emails that we believe XRP is a security, then it's going to show that they never had any idea that XRP was a security, and therefore why would Ripple think it was a security? This is a huge issue for the SEC, and now, based on evidence in these most recent filings that I'm going to show you, it's going to make it very clear to you guys that it is very probable XRP was asked about, and this is a big issue for the SEC going forward. John Deaton says, imagine if one of the staff members added XRP in one of those 53 drafts Hinman took out. I've maintained that the most important decision in this case is the one pending, where Ripple gets these emails. This case settles when the SEC has a deadline to turn over those documents. So just like I was saying, once the SEC is actually forced to hand these things over, John Deaton says they're not going to do it. They're settling this case. And Jeremy Hogan really agrees with this. And he's essentially backing this girl, Ashley. She broke down this case right now, and I think this is a really important tweet thread we should be analyzing. Ashley said, has Ripple already won? Since Ripple won the fair notice battle, the pressure is now on for the SEC to prove it did provide fair notice. However, the judges have already agreed that Hinman's speech was his personal opinion, so the SEC can't even use that. Even worse, Judge Torres rejected the list of prior enforcement actions the SEC brought against the other companies, so they can't use that either. So if prior enforcement actions and Hinman's speech are off the table, what does the SEC have left to prove it provided fair notice? She's pointing out the court has already dismissed so much of the SEC's evidence. What do they even have left to go on? In the eyes of Ashley, she believes it's very likely the SEC has already lost this case and they know it. They are now stalling to try to salvage whatever they can out of Ripple and try to get some slightly better terms in their settlement. What's worse is if Ripple gets their hands on the Estabrook notes and they confirm Brad claims that he left the meeting with Elad Roisman with the understanding that XRP was okay. So should Judge Netburn reject the SEC's motion for DPP reconsideration, not only does this expose the emails, putting aside any appeal applications, but it also reinforces the court's findings that Hinman's speech was personal, meaning it couldn't have provided fair notice. So what she is saying is the SEC's evidence has already been burnt out by the court. The SEC did not bring a lot to the table to start with, and it is diminishing fast because, like she pointed out, the SEC is refusing to, the court is refusing to even look at it. Now, on top of that, the SEC has some huge issues coming down the pipeline in the form of the Estabrook notes, in which Brad Garlinghouse was told by Elad Roisman that XRP is not a security, and the Bill Hinman emails that show that essentially the SEC purposely only gave clarity to ETH when they knew XRP was also not a security. She's essentially pointing out this tweet thread that the SEC has everything to lose right now, and they are simply delaying the inevitable. The SEC is going to keep delaying until they are forced to hand over these final nails in the SEC's coffin. I think I said knife in the coffin earlier. Whatever. They're delaying the inevitable. They know this is going to happen, and this is really what's going to drive a settlement. Ashley then goes on to give her timeline. She says 225, and this was actually made February 24th, so it's pretty interesting to see how this is playing out. She says 225, Ripple files reply to the SEC's motion for DPP consideration. 228, discovery ends. Party must discuss settlement within 14 days. Judge Netburn denies SEC motion. SEC files appeal to Judge Torres. Ripple files reply to SEC appeal. 4-2 settlement. So what she believes is eventually the SEC is going to be forced to hand over these emails. She believes the SEC is going to try to appeal this. I think a lot of lawyers I've seen following this case have all agreed that the SEC will appeal this to Judge Torres, but it's very unlikely they appeal again to a higher court. Now, this is really good because we know Judge Torres and Judge Netburn worked very closely in this case, and I don't think there's really any scenario in which Judge Torres overrides Judge Netburn's rules. I have a feeling they've been working a lot of these decisions together, so I think that again gets rejected. Therefore, I think it is very likely that once we have a confirmed date for the SEC to hand over the Hinman emails or the Estabrook notes, settlement talks are immediately on the table. I don't think there is any way they take this any further because they know they are already cooked, and at this point, they are simply using delays to further negotiate their power. Now, I wanted to show this, and I think this is pretty interesting for when we can see a decision on these notes. So Brad Garlinghouse said, "I am optimistic we'll see some decisions, maybe within weeks. I think the questions that the court has been asking have been very thoughtful, and I'm hoping that we'll get some clarity soon." So this was actually on March 10th. This was a couple weeks ago. So we should be looking at a decision on these Hinman emails very soon. Also, I saw John Deaton point out the fact that it is highly likely that these are decided on before the end of March, because essentially there are some court filing rules in which it makes a lot more sense for the judges to get these rulings out before the end of March. So I think this Friday is a very likely time for these to come out, and if not the following week, I think this Friday or before then. Now, I wanted to show just what this timeline would look like because Jeremy Hogan really agrees with Ashley's timeline right here of an early April settlement, and Jeremy Hogan says we are not quite finished with discovery yet, and it looks like summary judgment briefs will be filed in May or June. Now, if there is a settlement, like Fred said earlier, he does not believe the SEC, Fred believes the SEC would settle before summary judgment, and most of the lawyers I have seen following this case also believe this. So that means that the settlement would likely take place in April, whether the beginning or the end, but likely before summary judgment briefs start being filing. So Jeremy Hogan agrees with Ashley here that April is going to be a key time for a settlement to take place. Last of all, I wanted to show you guys this GIF. This is from the Monty Python movie. I thought it was pretty funny and perfectly illustrates the position the SEC is in right now. For those of you who don't know, you essentially had these two knights fighting, and this Black Knight was just getting destroyed. He kept on getting his limbs cut off until he was essentially lying there. But since the point he was lying there, he was sitting there, he's like, it's only a flesh wound. I can still fight, whatever, as he was essentially torn to shreds by this other knight. Right now, I think the SEC is essentially this Black Knight. They are getting destroyed in this case, and all they are doing now is wasting time. It's inevitable that they're gonna lose. They are fighting with both arms missing. They're about to lose a leg when they have to hand over these Hinman emails, and I think they're still gonna be on the ground being a nuisance, trying to put up a last-second fight to Ripple. At the end of the day, though, I think we're looking at this scenario right here, where it has been game over for a while. I believe there's a couple last-minute decisions being made behind the scenes, but eventually Ripple will come out victorious, and XRP holders will be rewarded immensely. Guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. Make sure to like and subscribe. It helps this channel grow so much. For now, Mickle out.